folks. Sorry for the lateness. For some odd reason, my phone did not want to work with me, so we are starting a little late, only like 5-6 minutes. But as soon as I get Andre on here, to discuss. So let's just see when he finally gets on. So thank you for being a viewer, and I host him soon, hopefully in a minute, and Andre will be here. And sorry, but we're gonna bring you some movie news pretty soon. There you go. Hey, and how are you? For some odd reason, it does not want to work with my phone, so I had to use my tablet, which is why you guys are getting all this very extreme close up. Scarily. So let's jump into the news, okay? Okay, Andre, as of late, oh God, I'm like, jeez, I'm so close to my eyes. Yeah, see, technical difficulty, folks. Oh, hello. Wow, we have a fan from Portugal watching. Thank you very much. An old fan of the Cinephiles. And thank you for being a viewer and thank you for watching. Andre, name some of your favorite party movies. And
Oh man, there's so many. Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks certainly
I didn't
stands.
even think of that one. And
Yeah, that's going way, way back. Are we talking?
you're freezing. Hello? Technical difficulties, guys. It's probably on my end. I'm changing my screen. Andre? I think he's still there. No, let's see. Let me try again. I'm trying. Let's see. Now you see why I wanted to use my phone. Okay, good. Now you're there because I was like,
Yeah,
you were
sorry.
freezing. Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
heard Bachelor Party. And
yeah, are we counting like an entire movie set at a party, or like could it be, like a big chunk of the film, but not the entire film?
it could be like part of the film. Like, think something like Booksmart, where there's a party in the film, but the whole movie doesn't take place at the party. Mm.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, definitely Bachelor Party is one. Can't Hardly Wait is another. I There was a film. There was a black film that also was very party. So House Party, that's another
Yeah.
big one. The first
Yeah.
one.
Of course. Well, that's one of the reasons why I brought it up, since now Criterion is about to release, I think in a month or two, it on DVD or, well, whatever, Blu-ray, 4K. I just wanted to like go over like what are some good party films. And
Yeah, well, I think that one is going to Criterion, or it is already, right?
well, it's going, I believe.
And what about Blake Edwards' The Party?
And I mean, that's one that's celebrated, but it's not one of my favorites. House Party is my favorite, but again, there's movies like Booksmart. I guess you could say old school because there's a bunch of parties. Would you say Animal
Superbad?
House? Would you say Animal House is a party movie?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. Can't Hardly Wait and 16 Candles and
The big party one. Maybe Weird Science, even though that's not necessarily a sacred cow.
yeah, I mean it's an otherworldly party like that. I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't mind attended. Trying to think if there's any that I can think of just in general that come to mind.
I also, even though it's not really entirely set at a party, but Risky Business with the bordello and that.
Yeah, and then there's what was that movie? Now I'm blanking on movie. What about Old School?
Yeah, Old School's another one. Valley Girl.
Would you consider Road Trip? Mm.
Not necessarily. Road Trip to me is a flat out road movie that just happens to have party scenes in it.
Okay, I could see that because I'm just like, there's that, when they go to the black frat where they have a party, that's a memorable scene from the movie. But that's one of the big memorable scenes. That's why I'm wondering, and then there's the, I guess, party at the beginning of the film where he initially hooks up with
Right.
Amy Smart's character that sets everything in motion. So that's why I'm like, there's at least two parties in that movie, but you remember, like you said, you remember more for the hijinks and the road trip more than the particular parties of it. And
American Pie, the first one.
see that one, I'm not so much of a party movie. Weekend at Bernie's, and
That's one big party in itself.
yes, but unfortunately, what was part two is not. So, um, like, I feel like. I feel like we're on a trivia show. Like, tell us the most you can in 5 minutes. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to talk about party movies since we have that coming out. Trust me, we
Is
have
Die
plenty.
Hard a movie?
It's supposed to be a Christmas party. It stops being a party movie about 20 minutes in. And then it's just a hostage situation. Nobody was even the terrorists weren't like, let's party. Put on
About that.
put on a Run DMC album. Nobody was like that. So I don't think so. I mean, you could. I think all of you are trying to put Die Hard into every category. It's a Christmas movie. It's soon somebody's gonna. Since it's Christmas, it's technically a New Year's Eve party too, because it's close enough. Eh,
Ghostbusters 2 is a movie.
Well, I mean, you could party with Ghostbusters, but I wouldn't put it as a party movie. And
No.
even though there is a kids party in Ghostbusters too, it's,
Listen, the first one has the party in his apartment before the terror dog attacks him.
but is it a party or was it supposed to be a dinner party or a regular party?
He
And
was trying to get all his clients to come out and celebrate with him. Nobody really knew who he was.
I'm like, exact. Now, was that Casey Kasem's wife who played, I guess, the his version of the hot girl at the party?
I think I heard something about that. I'm not sure.
Okay, because I did not go to any of these recent screenings, so I don't know anything about
And
like. Well, yeah, the Alamo had one where it was kind of it's not a sing along, but I guess you could like talk at the screen and say the lines, and supposedly nobody was supposed to get pissed off because like, hey, it's a celebration, everybody. And I wonder if they give you discounts on your food for parties like that. And they should, especially if you're a member. I am not, but I'm just saying they should. Okay, so let's get into movie news. But if you have any more party movie suggestions for those of you out there watching, or if you just think of one in the middle of a news story, just say it. And is Climax a party movie from Gasper? No. I it's a horrible party, but it is a party because it's an after party celebration. So I'm going to say it's a party movie, but no one wants to celebrate after watching that movie. That's one of those like I guess you could count some horror films as party. So I'm like, is Night of the Demons a party movie? Mm.
Night of Creeps.
But do they ever get to the party? Really? I'm just like, see, that's the thing that stops it. It's like, but they don't really get to a party. Maybe there's a party in hell. And no, in Return of the Living Dead 2, they weren't going to a party, right?
Not that I recall.
Okay, I don't know. So much happens in that movie, and I haven't seen it in so long.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Now that we're on the horror movie, I'm like, oh, there's plenty of horror movies.
April
Um,
Fool's.
Yeah, is it a party or a celebration or a reunion? Is
Well, nobody really dies in it. Spoiler alert.
Hey, you should have said that first. Like, you're like, hey, nobody dies in it. Spoiler alert, all y'all.
It came out like almost 40 years ago.
You know, there are plenty of people who probably still haven't watched it. They're like, oh, thanks a lot. The Invitation. Well, Dinner Party has party in it, so I will say it's a party movie, but it does not have a soundtrack. It has a score, it just doesn't have a soundtrack. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They do eat together, but is that a meal or is that a party? So I'm trying to think. I guess was it Hubie Halloween? That Adam Sandler movie is a party movie because they all do go to a party at the end. And but then are the grown-up movies party movies because is it a barbecue they go to or is it a block party they go to? And
I'm purposely not saying "Take Me Home Tonight."
the less said about that film, the better. And House Bunny, that could be a party movie. And
Oh, the House was funny. I remember when it came out.
yes, I saw it in theaters too. Back before everybody was predicting Emma Stone to be the next like best actress thing. And
Well,
yeah, I remember Kat Dennings being in that movie and everybody having really bad wigs. But I did like it. And that was like Anna Faris's big, starring role. Other than Scary Movie. So I have seen The Collector too, but I'll admit it's been a while. I remember he like freaking massacres a club in the beginning. But that is like I think the rest of the film is him holding a girl hostage. So I mean, if you end the party early, I don't think it's a party film so much. You
oh,
know
end.
which one?
This is the end with Seth Rogen and the rest of the Apatow
Oh,
crew.
that is a good one. I'm kicking myself considering it's Seth Rogen. So Superbad's a party movie because that's
We,
where we're opening up new things. Thank you, Seth Rogen. you know, we're like now we're thinking of parties. I feel like also at a certain point we're just gonna start naming movies that have parties and we're like yes. Yeah, we need it to count. Yes. And like we're on Family Feud. Good answer. Good answer. So let's get into the subjects. So the Chris Farley biopic, The Shining. No, I mean it's a party from the past that's trying to come back.
you
But
know,
I mean, is Shelley Duvall really in the party mood? It's you know, and you don't really see crowds. If it's a party, it's the most awkward party because it's just random ghosts everywhere. And.
we got twins and dudes in bear masks, which we won't get into.
And nobody shits in the punch bowl. So, is it really a party, or as Rob Lowe said, did anything really get broken other than the door? And maybe what? Huh? Uh, well, yeah, Jack Nicholson gets broken. Stanley Kubrick broke Shelley Duvall's mental state. um, okay, well, because it's Kubrick, well, we'll give it the benefit of the doubt. And it's also a movie you could play at a party, and see what's happening. Okay, so Christopher Guest has retired from directing because he's doing press for Spinal Tap II, and he says he's pretty much retired from directing, which I can understand. I mean, he is of a certain age, and maybe he took Tarantino's heat and like, you know what? How many movies do I really have left in me? And also, you got to keep in mind his films come out, but they don't come out with so much fanfare, or they're always compared to the ones that were like big cultural hits, like Waiting for Guffman, even A Mighty Wind, so, and Best in Show. So it's like he hasn't really had any. I mean, that's three great ones, and The Big Picture. But other than those, like, yeah, like, does anybody remember For Your Consideration? Mm.
I saw For Your Consideration. That was okay. But you're right. Like even though he didn't direct it, but the new Spinal Tap movie is not getting a wide release. It's only in select theaters, and so that to me is a sign that the times are changing, and the fact that sadly, and I hate to say this, but some of that ensemble, like Fred Willard, they're passing on. So, given his age and where he's at and the business, to make those kind of movies now would probably be on straight to streaming or in a like limited run. So that to me tells me, yeah, these studios are not putting those kind of movies out anymore in the theaters, and might as well just go out while you're still pretty much doing that good work, or else anything else you do, you end up like Woody Allen and make movies nobody.
Well, that's because personal politics and accusations. So it's like, and he can't get any of like the really major stars to be in his films anymore anyway. So, oh, he brought up Boogie Nights, our fan.
Oh, there's
So
a lot
that,
of Boogie
yeah,
Nights.
they all in tragedy. So that seems to be the underlying credit. But it's a shame. But I hope he at least still acts. But I think with Spinal Tap, they should have just did the sequel like when they did The Simpsons. That's when everybody got kind of
Yeah,
reinterested in them. I think they waited too long, and now kind of with all this multimedia and all this competition, the true fans will come out for it, but it's not going to be as big as it could have been. Let's say even if it came out 10 years ago. And
Rob Reiner was too busy.
being political,
Yeah, that, and then he did that movie North, and then pretty much people were wiping their hands of him. So now he just happens to have plenty of time on his hands now.
well, I like that movie, that kids movie he directed with Anthony Edwards, where the two kids fall in love, but we see the story from each of their points of view. I like
All right,
that movie.
that didn't really get a big release though.
Now, I saw the trailer, and then the next time I saw it, it was playing on cable. And that was
Yeah.
before this 30-day window. So that should
Mm.
tell you a little something about that. Our next story, Michael Bay and Will Smith will not be having that reunion for Netflix with the movie Fast and Loose, which pretty much sums up both their styles. Now we're getting John Schwab, who has directed many a television, directing it. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Look, Michael Bay, say what you want, he'll direct the hell out of something. It might not be good, but he'll have 20,000 angles, special effects, stunts, and I'm all for it. But now that he's kind of out of the project, I'm really going to have to see a trailer before I can have any excitement for this film.
Yeah, my understanding from what I read was there was a creative difference between Michael Bay and Will Smith, where Michael Bay just wanted to do his standard action fare, and Will Smith wanted to just make a straight up action comedy. And you would think, well, they did so well with those first two Bad Boys movies, but we've seen what was it, Six Underground, some of his recent films that not really meshed that well with the action and the comedy all that much. And I'm not saying that's why he's not doing these recent Bad Boys films. That's more like just their salaries are just too high, along with Martin Lawrence. But the fact is that I think Will is just in this place now where he feels like he wants to call the shots. And at this point in his career, he wants to probably work with directors that he could tell them what to do, like with the Dylan Bilal. Michael Bay is too hard headed and too much of an auteur to be told by the star how to operate. And so that also brings the question about Will Smith as a star right now. I mean, never mind just the slap. I mean, we don't talk about it that much anymore. But recent things where it seems like outside of the recent Bad Boys, he hasn't really had anything stand out as far as a hit film. Like the Emancipation movie, nobody saw that. And then now this whole thing, this controversy with the music video he did that was all AI with the crowds. And so you're wondering what is going on with this guy? Because is he really trying to hold on to the credit he has left, or is he pretty much just the mask came off and now he's still struggling to get it back on?
I think he's like desperate, like he's doing a Michael B. Jordan, maybe trying to go, well, even though this isn't a sequel, but go back to people he knows and who made him a star in the first place with, Bad Boys, which they didn't agree on either, but the film got made. So I'm just like, the whole difference now is that Will Smith has more power, so that he can tell Michael Bay, like, no, I'm not going to do this your way. But I'd be like, but Will, look at what you've been doing recently on your own. I'd rather put you, maybe you should put your trust in the hands of someone else who kind of helped shape your image as an action hero in the first place, instead of following those instincts that said, you know what, I should do this movie and I'm going to have an African accent. Mm, mm.
So
You
the
know, tell the truth. Like, or what was the other? Oh, or you know what? Let me do a slave movie that no one went in. Well, it was on, I guess, stream. Even on streaming, nobody watched it. Because I think it was Apple Plus.
Yeah, it was on Apple TV, but it was in theaters like briefly. And regarding his age, I don't think that's too much of an issue. I mean, he still looks great for his age. He's not in his 60s yet. I know Martin turned 60 this year. Say what you want about that. No, I don't think the age is the. I think it's really just that he had all those hits. He was very well liked, but then between the slap and all the stuff that Jada said in her book, and simply the fact that even before the slap, I mean, people weren't running out and seeing his movies in the last decade. Did anybody really rush out to see Focus or Collateral Beauty? And only Bright, got some good viewership because that was when Netflix first started doing big films with big stars that went straight to their platform. But even that sequel got canceled too. So he's in the place where I feel like if you put him in an Aladdin type of movie, he's like the icing on the cake. It'll do well because he's not carrying it on his shoulders. But then anything else he does that where he's on his own and it's not an IP, like Gemini Man, they
Oh,
should,
jeez.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, Will has to trust not his own instincts, but maybe letting other people take the reins a little. And
Not only that, but like something like King Richard, what I liked about his performance there is that it does fit his values as a father that's there for his kids. That's always been a through line with many of his characters. But at least this was a flawed guy, Richard Williams, where he was almost resorting to violence to protect his family. And there was the insinuation of affairs behind his wife's back. So he was not a perfect person. And I think that's one of the reasons he won the Oscar, because he was willing to show he had flaws. He didn't really like Pursuit of Happiness or the other movies where he was trying to be this aspirational figure.
true. I mean, it took him out of his martyr complex, definitely. But then he kind of screwed it up by then the slap heard around the world. Mm. So he's his own undoing, which is why I say let somebody else take the reins and don't listen to Jada. She's the one telling you, like, you don't need Michael Bay, baby. I'm like, yes, and says the woman who starred in, what was your last movie? Exactly. Please don't take that personally, Jada. I would love to work with you. Um, Next, Michael Caine is coming out of retirement for, hold it, a Vin Diesel movie to star or co-star in The Last Witch Hunter 2, the movie we've all been waiting for, of course. Um, how do you take a? I, does he need Blue Chew? Is that what it is? Is the insurance going up over there in England for his health care? Because why are you? I mean, you already were taking paycheck jobs, but why would you come out of retirement for a paycheck job? Does your wife need new boobs? Is that it? Because I'm like, I'm dumbfounded. Why of all films that?
Yeah, he once said in a quote that he would take roles either for the money or take no money if the script was good, or depending on who was in it. I'm guessing, yeah,
It's money.
maybe that retirement money ran out and he needs to buy a new house, maybe assisted living care, God forbid. Um, there could be any number of reasons, but yeah, a Vin Diesel flick, there, that's definitely a paycheck gig for some reason. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
unless like I don't know, Quentin Tarantino wrote it, and Michael Caine was like, "This script is so good, I've got to do it."
Yeah.
And, or
Uh-huh.
maybe he gets to be in a harem of young, beautiful brides, and he was like, "That doesn't sound like a bad day at the office." Mm,
Just don't blink.
oh, I don't think he will. Next, Jaws. Yeah, I don't think they're making. Why would you make a Jaws 5 when Jaws, the re-release, is making so much money on the big screen? So
I think after Force, Spielberg pretty much told Universal, if you keep making these, I'm never going to make another movie for you. And we haven't had a Jaws movie since.
no, because and also everybody takes the formula. Anytime you see a shark movie, it's like, oh, this is like Jaws. And so even Sharknado, it just has Jaws and a tornado. you know, with that great thespian Ian Ziering. Um, speaking of box office, The Conjuring Last Rites, $83 million opening weekend. Now, I saw the first Conjuring and I liked it, but I will admit I haven't seen one since. And I'm just like, was it just that there was no real competition for it? Or do people really just love that franchise that they're willing to go out in droves to watch,
I think it's
apparent.
both. Yeah, there was no competition. And like you, I've only seen the first one. I never saw any of the sequels. And so I guess, through streaming, it's built up a big following that, oh, we're going to do another one. And then people just rush out. So, and it's in the 80s. So that's like the time of Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. And I heard there's a Ghostbusters reference in there. So maybe that drove everybody in.
I mean, I'm wondering if, like, now studios are going to be like, screw rep theaters. Let's just start re releasing things on their anniversaries to bigger box office. Yeah. In Portugal, the best box office horror movie was Weapons and Bring Her Back, not The Conjuring. I haven't seen Bring Her Back. I've heard good and disturbing things about it. But Weapons, that was a hit here for a while, but, it teetered off. But, I guess I have no desire to see The Conjuring. It's the third one. I'm like, I think I got everything I needed from the first one. At least for me. I don't know. If other people want to watch that, or maybe they just trust horror kind of franchise, because then at least they know what they're going to get usually with those
Right.
instead of like so many jump scares or so much originality. Oh, no, not originality. They want The Conjuring, the series, Um, because that in that same weekend, that was when over here in America, Jaws was number 2 at the box office. So it was a very interesting weekend. It's like Conjuring, and then this really old movie that's 40 years old, and then and still number 3 wasn't even still caught stealing, So that shows you the drop off in the weeks. Um, Ridley Scott, the oldest and hardest working man in Hollywood, says he's still planning Gladiator 3 amongst 12 other films he wants to direct. I'm just like, it's bad enough you brought us Gladiator 2. Just let us just think about Gladiator 1 and let it live on from there, in our minds. You don't literally have to keep telling the story of this family, throughout the years. Or maybe that's it, since I remember it was Nick Cave's script was supposed to be we see Russell Crowe being reborn across time. Maybe Ridley Scott thinks he's going to live forever, so he believes I'm just going to keep making gladiators about a distant relative of the original Gladiator until we get to modern times.
Yeah, it's getting more ridiculous every year with Ridley Scott. And I wasn't crazy about Gladiator too. So, what's the point? What else can you really say that hasn't been said? And people are not going to come out as hard unless maybe you de-age Russell Crowe and bring him back from the dead. I don't know. Maybe it's Gladiator in the Old West, some weird
No,
thing.
he's gonna
Yeah,
shock us. He's gonna shock us all. He's gonna be like, guess what? Guess who's in it? Tom Hanks. We got him. You know, or we got Brad Pitt. He's sorry for Troy, so he's coming back to make another Gladiator
I'm gonna do a crossover movie with
movie.
Troy.
Uh, well, I'm sure Orlando Bloom's free. So going from that, Fede Alvarez will not be returning for the Alien Romulus sequel. He will be producing, and supposedly they're using a script that he co-wrote, but there are rumors that he might have been told to kind of step away from it because he. Now again, this is allegedly, so nobody sue. But the rumor is that he wanted to use Michael Fassbender's character in the Romulus sequel. And they were like, and Ridley Scott's like, no, what if I want to do another Alien sequel? He's my character, and I produce these movies. And
See, there he goes again with this shit. I mean, you
allegedly, it's,
allegedly,
it's,
let's say this is legit. You're how old? You haven't touched this in a while, and you haven't done anything as good as the original Alien. Just let the next generation just handle it. This franchise has already been screwed up enough, and I mean, I heard good things about the TV show. I'm still need to get around to it, but man, I mean, you shouldn't be the end all be all. You're not George Lucas with this, and just let these guys do their thing.
but Ridley Scott runs a multi-million-dollar production company scot free. So who are you to tell him what to do?
Well, I'll tell you what to do. Make a Black Rain too. Get Michael Douglas out of retirement.
No, supposedly he canceled his Q&A because of low ticket sales in New
Or
York
how
City.
well to someone to watch over me.
No, there's not
Tom
you.
Berenger needs work. He needs money.
He's got like look, he's got enough original projects. I don't know why he's even thinking sequels, and damn sure don't do remakes. It's,
Thelma and Louise, where they didn't die from driving off the cliff.
so what? They're in witness protection, 90 years old, and
There were dummies in the car.
I'm like, no, this will be. Well, I mean, Susan Sarandon's down most of this for anything usually, and hold on, something is up with my keyboard. Sorry. But I'm just like, I've warned you guys about uh, Ridley Scott before, so I just now am sipping my tea whenever he comes up with a new project, because I'm just like, mm-hmm. So I don't know. That's on you guys. So our next story, we have the Chris Farley biofilm uh, with Paul Walter Hauser starring, is supposedly finally going to begin filming next year with Josh Gad directing.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we both talked on the show highly about Paul Walter Hauser,
Oh
and
yes, and
Farley's story definitely needs to be told because there's so much to him that I don't think a lot of biographies have really tapped onto yet. And so I think, just like you did with Richard Jewell, I think he'll find the soul and the heart of Chris Farley on screen to really show how much of a tragic figure he was. And even the fact that Josh Gad's doing it, not that I've seen Josh Gad direct anything, but I feel like I know him well enough. He'll do justice to the story.
I'm on the fence because because I don't. Well, we've never seen him direct something before, but I want to have faith because he's a very enthusiastic fan of pop culture. So let me put it this way: I have more faith in this than I have in Spaceballs 2. Even though Josh Gad just wrote that one. So we will see. Let's see. Our next story. They're already planning a sequel for the cliffhanger reboot, even though the reboot hasn't even come out yet, starring Lily James and Pierce Brosnan. Mm.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of that. And I mean, I've heard, didn't Stallone plan to do a cameo in this reboot? Because
You're more the action fan than me. I don't.
Yeah, I
As
don't
soon as
know.
I'm like half the time when I hear Stallone, I'm like no, because I'm afraid it's gonna get political. So I'm just like nah, that's okay.
I like Tulsa King. I'll just stick with that right now.
Yeah, I'm like I like. I mean, I like the original cliffhanger. I mean, I know everything's gonna be rebooted anyway, but eh, yeah, that's my
I don't
issue.
get out excited. You don't have John Lithgow as the villain, you know.
Maybe you have Michael Rooker, who's been driven mad after his girlfriend died in the original. He's like, I'm gonna do the same thing, get revenge.
That
It's
kind of tells a certain horror movie, but I'm not going to talk about it.
okay because I was gonna say, and then he begs James Gunn to write his part. Um, so next story, Jordan Peele has the release date for his latest film has been dropped. This was also like in Hollywood Reporter and Variety, and supposedly he hasn't even started writing the script for his next film.
I guess that just tells you about all the hype and anticipation that he has anytime he has a new movie. And just like they did with Nope, nobody knew what the hell it was. And then slowly but surely, it kind of hinted at an alien invasion flick. But I might as well just get this off our chest
Uh
because
oh.
there's a lot that seems to go on out there. He's not the director of Him, guys.
Oh,
That
that's what I was going to bring that up next.
I think is in all of these promotional ads that he's a director. No, he didn't direct this film, but it does look good. We want to see it.
Yes, we want to see it opening day. I just find it weird that he wants to like he's like redoing his career with this big dramatic thriller horror role, and then he's like, and what am I gonna follow it up with? What I'm known for, another scary movie comedy. It's like okay, that's like Eddie Murphy. Like, hey, I did this great role in Dreamgirls. Now go see Norbit.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of that kind of boomerang effect happening again. I'm like, I'm rooting for you, Marlon. Your audition tape for Richard Pryor wasn't that bad. And I wouldn't have picked you, but it wasn't that bad. I pick you above Mike Epps, though. Our next story. Well, let's get back to the major story. Jordan Peele. I think maybe it's a lot to live up to that reputation. I think he's going through that kind of M. Night Shyamalan thing where everybody's like, what are you going to do next? And it's like, it's hard to live up to. Plus, you got half the people who liked Nope, half the people who didn't like Nope, and then you have some people who didn't necessarily like us either. Because it's one of those things where it feels like no matter what he does, it's always going to be like, this ain't no Get Out. And it's like, yes, it's not supposed to be. I make different types of thrillers and horror films. So give me a chance and stop comparing it to my first film. Hey, I'm happy it was successful out the gate, but I'm more than that.
Well, that's a curse of having, that first thing either become a big hit or, you win an Oscar early in your career because then the pressure is so much more higher for you to try to live up to that. Maybe when you're like DiCaprio, for example, if he had won early in his career for an Oscar, who knows what his career trajectory would have looked like compared to winning it for obviously a movie that I don't think was Oscar worthy in its own right with The Revenant. But hey, he got it at a point when he got the respect and people were behind him.
Yeah. Unfortunately, early fame it has its downside, but
Yeah.
I don't feel like at least like even take Quentin Tarantino after Pulp Fiction and then Jackie Brown. Nobody was like, well, this ain't no damn Pulp Fiction, And
But he's a rare case because at least he takes his time. The gap between Kill Bill and Jackie Brown was a good couple of years, and he spent all that time working on the Kill Bill script, leaking it out on the internet, if you remember.
yeah, and that's why I'm wondering. Like, I remember when he first set a date. Supposedly, he had two scripts or two projects he was working on, but then he decided to scrap it to write something new. So I'm just wondering, was that always the plan, or was it not, or is he still trying to set up other people with Monkey Paw? Like he has that short film, 5 short films that came through that was at the Toronto International Film Festival. So I'm wondering, is he like more focusing on educating and helping newer filmmakers, and just figures, hey, they'll wait, they'll pay when I decide to come back. When maybe he's like trying to get his passion back, and then he'll be ready to make a film. But maybe right now he realized, like, if I just do a movie to do a movie, it's not going to be good. My heart's not really into it.
That's why he doesn't do temp poles, and they've tried to offer him Marvel movies, DC movies.
Well, and then he put that. I remember after he put that like motorcycle slide in Nope, how everybody's like, "Oh, that's a reference to Akira. He's probably gonna try and make that next." And it was like, no, you can just like
No,
something. And it's Takia Waititi has been trying to make Akira, and that is one of the few. Well, there's quite a lot of films, but that's one of those few films where just let the animated version stand. You're not
yeah,
gonna do right by it live action, So next story, we have Edward Berger, director of All Quiet on the Western Front and the upcoming Colin Farrell movie Ballad of a Small Player, confirmed to direct the next Jason Bourne film. Yes, they're still going with that, which is interesting only because they were talking a while about him doing an Ocean's 11 sequel or a prequel, whichever, and he chose instead to do the Jason Bourne films, explaining that the Ocean's movies are more Steven Soderbergh's films, not open for like let me do my version. So I mean that's a wise choice, but no offense, I don't think anybody was hankering for any of these two choices though. And I'm just wondering, since we're slowly getting closer to the Amazon James Bond film, are they trying to beat them to the theaters with a new Jason Bourne film? And
that's the question. What take is this going to be? Is it going to be a continuation? Is it going to be a flat reboot? Are they going to try to make it like that Richard Chamberlain TV movie from the '80s, adapt the books? I don't know where they're going with it, but I just don't have much interest in it because it's just a guy on the run who doesn't remember his identity. What else can you really add to that?
well, see, my thing is, I always like to cite if you're going to make a sequel or reboot, try something. I would say, like, remember when Fast and Furious reinvented itself before it got ridiculous, super
Yeah.
ridiculous? Like, do something like that where, it was like Vin Diesel and Paul Walker in this film, and, Paul Walker's now an actual FBI agent, and they start off with like a foot chase even in the trailer. And it seemed like everything is kind of new or rebooted. You got to do something like that and not make it seem like, oh, it's the same old. Let me guess, Matt Damon's going to kick some international ass? You
Or
know,
another example would be when you may not even remember this at all, but there was a short-lived Rush Hour TV show with two actors playing Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker's characters, but they were played straight. So you have like a younger guy playing Jackie Chan's part who's not cracking jokes and bouncing around, and then this guy who's doing the Chris Tucker part but not as annoying.
no. I didn't even know about that. I'm not a big Rush Hour fan, but I'll take Rush Hour as it is. Like, that was not the script to be rebooted. Like, hey, you know how this would be better? Dramatic. And like, no. And is the scary part is if Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker tried to be dramatic in the first place, and that was what they got. And
Like the foreigner.
yes, he was like, this is Chris Tucker acting dramatic. Hey, Jackie Man, wait a minute, man. That's how he is dramatically.
It's true.
It's, like, oh, jeez.
I wouldn't care.
Yeah, and doing Michael Jackson impressions. That's what he does to de-stress. He was trying to show that in the character, though. Oh, jeez. Who thought we'd be bringing up Chris Tucker the show? Um, now, here's a big story. AI is going to recreate the lost 43 minutes of Orson Welles' The Magnificent Ambersons that has been lost over the years, that were said to have made this film, if the footage had been left in, a true classic. So what they're going to do is go off of Orson Welles' notes again and then recreate it using AI. And obviously, his estate is not happy about this.
Yeah, this has split feelings for me because, I'm not gonna lie, I have been dabbling a little bit with some AI stuff, and it is mind blowing when it's used properly. But when it comes to, yeah, bringing back dead people, trying to, in this case, finish a film, and the filmmaker's not alive to be able to do it himself, that's very problematic, and I don't think that's something I necessarily want to see. And it is kind of an insult to even Orson Welles' legacy. For any filmmaker, if there are things you cannot accomplish at a particular time, the technology is there. This is not like when Richard Donner did the Superman 2 director's cut, and he just did it exactly the way he wanted to with all the missing footage and using effects to make it look like it was 1978. I mean, this is kind of problematic, and this is going to be one of those recurring issues you're going to see over and over. It may result in more strikes, not just from the Actors Guild, but from the Directors Guild too.
That's true because I'm like, it's one thing when they did was it written on the wind, at least they were using original footage, but this is you're making your own. And I
Yeah,
feel like this is one of those, it's like a Supreme Court case. I feel like if this goes through, it's going to open the door for a lot more AI remakes of classics. I mean, even like, I mean, Wizard of Oz at the Sphere isn't as, no, they're not going against anybody's wishes. They're
it's
just
enough.
add. But this is like, again, what the fear that we're going to have is that soon, I know they're working on this technology. Soon you can go to Netflix. It's sort of like Chat GPT, as you were showing me that one time, where you can be like Gene Hackman in Jurassic Park with Fast and Furious. And the AI will make that film literally in front of you. So why would you need, movies anymore or an individual's imagination when you can just make your own entertainment?
It's as bad enough that anybody could just go into your program, type in a prompt, and literally within seconds you get exactly that image, or you may have to like regurgitate it several times to get it the way you want. But that's kind of a scary thing, how quickly that could be done, and you don't need the manpower to make that happen. Just a couple of bucks and some credits.
Exactly. It's sort of like in that Michael Jackson Scream video with Janet Jackson, where the painting kept changing on its own. One of the more obscure references for that, but something scary like that, and people will never be satisfied, and it's getting rid of it would practically get rid of a whole industry, and that's the scary part. And I want it to go back to being vintage when, unfortunately, soon vintage will be like, hey, man, remember when we used to use film and actors and screenplays, man? It was crazy. Unfortunately. Um, our next story, Steven Spielberg wanted to direct a Call of Duty film, and he pitched it and everything to Paramount, and the studio declined because they do not want to do the Steven Spielberg package, which means he has to have total creative control over marketing and creativity. He has to have final cut, and he gets uh, top market pay. It's
That kind of also again tells you the reality of how the business is starting to change when somebody like Steven Spielberg, who used to be able to call the shots in his prime, it's as when Lincoln was being made, they even admitted it was hard to get that sold because nobody thought that a biopic about a historical U.S. president could be sold as a film, that it was better off as a TV movie. And so he had to do a lot of fighting to make that happen. And not to mention, his track record's been kind of spotty as of late. I know Ready Player One was a big hit. The Fablemans was not a hit, despite all the positive reviews it got. And now he's doing that Alien flick that we don't know much about other than just who's in it. So there's that kind of sense, the David Zaslavs of the world that are saying we're not going to listen to the Spielbergs or the Clint Eastwoods anymore. We're not going to bow to their feet. Basically, you work for us or fuck off, and you're going to get work somewhere else or retire. and that's pretty much where I think he is at. I think losing his grip, not completely, but the bit, because he's not that top guy anymore. And certainly Zemeckis, if you look at him and the last several movies he's put out, you think that guy's the man wanted, he even admitted, wanted to do a Back to the Future musical film, and they said no. That tells you everything about this business right now. The legends are being respected.
Yeah, I'm still amazed that Martin Scorsese gets his $100 million budget still intact. I mean, you even have Brian De Palma practically retired at this point,
Well, he's
and
been blackballed.
well, I mean, well, he wasn't making any good movies. I really think that's why Tarantino kind of retired, because that was like his big mentor, like in his head. He wanted to make
Yeah.
movies like Brian De Palma, and then you've seen his unfortunately his last few films. They have like an artistic pedigree, but they're not very entertaining or good. At least not vintage De Palma. They came across as somebody trying to imitate De Palma. Rather than being actually, noteworthy. Um, Mortal Kombat has been delayed from November of this year to May 2026 of next year. Now, you being the one here who liked the first one, have you heard anything or any reason why it's being delayed? Is it that they have confidence in it competing in the summer, or
I read somewhere that it didn't test well and that they wanted to do reshoots on it. I don't know if that's true. You might be right that maybe it's worked well. Hey, what's going on?
hey, Bashan?
Here the Black Critic Podcast. Yeah, I don't know the exact reason, but I'm thinking it's got to be the reaction to the trailer because I mean, Carl Urban seemed to get a pretty good response playing Johnny Cage, and clearly he's replacing the no-name guy from the first. So maybe they feel it's got a better shot going into next year. I mean, Warner Bros. Has done pretty well this year with Sinners and Weapons and Superman. So maybe they want to spread some wealth into 2026. That's the only other possibility I could think of.
Well, I'm just hoping it's not another Megan 2.0. Where it's like we have all this confidence going into it, and then it's like, ooh, I see why it was delayed.
Right.
I don't want another one of that. Well, we're gonna dive a little bit into politics only because of who's involved. Bryan Singer and John Voight have a secretly made an Israel-Lebanon war film. And okay, if you're conservative, you're not gonna like what I have to say, but Israel, and notoriously John Voight is a Republican, and since MAGA seems to be okay with pedophilia, pretty much, it seems like a natural fit to hire Bryan Singer, allegedly, or for him to be making a film like that, even though his problems have been made public, his legal troubles, and he might have a problem with certain substances. So, I mean, it's his right to make a comeback, but I'm like, you're going to pick it on the most controversial thing that's going on today? And
Well, I don't know who's producing this, who's bankrolling it. I don't know
Kevin
if
Spacey. No, I don't know.
it's
It's,
well, whatever's going on. I mean, clearly this is getting funded by some outside sources because Hollywood ain't touching these guys, and you know, I'm not going to get into that whole conflict, but I just think that these are people that they figure, oh, they got talent. We remember Conroy and all those other movies that John Boyd did. The guy had a career once before he went nuts. So
they all did.
God,
They all did. Dean
maybe Brett
Caine.
Ratner turned it down.
Dean Caine's like, wait, I wasn't called in for the audition. You know.
And to join ICE, and you can't even go over a brick wall.
I'm not even going to get into Kirk Cameron or Kevin Sorbo. So
Imagine Kirk Cameron joining ICE.
no, I'm not going there. Stop trying to bait me.
Justice for Lee McCullough, bitch.
Okay, yeah, well, even though that has nothing to do with ice, he's be like, I think somehow she's illegal. So, Questlove's live action remake of The Aristocrats was scrapped by Disney. I could say, well, not a big shock because Disney doesn't want to touch any projects, that they consider DEI. But it didn't. I mean, I think it would have made money, but it didn't sound like a good idea either. It just sounded like another, like, hey, let's make Lilo and Stitch only live action. Like, was it going to be like the cats were going to be computer generated? Or was it going to be like, that's the only way I could think. Because I'm like, they're not going to do human cats. Or were they going to make them humans instead of cats? But then doesn't that kind of take away the whole original idea?
Well, my thing with this, and I love Questlove, I love the Roots. Can't you just do your own original thing? Why does it have to be a Disney remake? You guys are talented enough. You could get with an animation studio, do an animated film, whether it's for theatrical or for streaming, put your music in it. People, your fans will pay to see it. I mean, it doesn't have to be a freaking Disney movie from 50, 60 years ago that you have to like modernize. And yeah, don't even get me started with Disney and DEI. That is, there are ways they could have managed that better, but I'm not thrilled with the situation that's going on with it either.
Well, I'd rather like Pharrell and Michelle Gondry just release their kind of 1960 set musical. That's a project I'd rather see if we're going to
Yeah.
do musicians and movies. But unfortunately, Pharrell paid for it, so we're never going to go. Get that. And um, Chris Columbus has been getting interviewed around, and he says that there will be no Harry Potter reunion because of J.K. Rowling, because even though it helped all kind of their careers, they obviously don't politically agree with her. And even Chris Columbus is like, what's the point of this Harry Potter series? We all know, obviously, a cash grab, but also so she could have more control over the series and she can sit there and be like, oh, you have to agree with all my political policies publicly. Like, that doesn't sound tyrannical in the first place. I don't know what her deal is with sticking to this subject, but I'm like, you wrote a beautiful book series about acceptance and all these other wonderful creatures and, magic and elves and stuff like that. But yet you're sitting here and like, I can't accept a woman changing her sex to be a man or a man changing their sex to be a woman. That's the hill you want to die on? Even though you literally write fantasy.
Yeah, I think it's everything you said. It's a cash grab. It's to hold on to the rights. The Fantastic Beasts movies haven't done well, so they obviously can't continue in the course that started with that first Harry Potter movie. And so this is J.K. Rowling trying to hold on to what she's got, try to start a new franchise with a new generation, and try to maybe in her own way try to erase the legacy of the original films, which you really can't do because the franchise still generates billions a year. So
Exactly. And
yeah,
that's Chris Columbus's point. Like, why are you bothering even making a TV series? Like, look, J.K. Rowling has billions for her lifetime and many other lifetimes. So is this all just really uh, like trying to own and control everything all over again, or is this a political statement of sorts? And, you know, this is supposed to be all about imagination and opening up children's minds, not promoting your bigotry. You know. But anyway, again, I didn't want to get into the politics. You were telling me, or you brought to my attention, James Gunn being interviewed on Howard Stern was talking about Superman 2, Man of Tomorrow, and Superman teaming up with Lex Luthor against a greater enemy.
yeah, I didn't read the entire interview, but what he said was that he identified more heavily with Lex than he did with Superman, and that now that Superman's done as well as it did, that was the testing ground for how far he could go with the mythology and with where he envisions the DC universe headed. So now he feels he could use the sequel as an opportunity to expand on Lex and to make him more of a complex figure that he has to side with Superman against a big threat. I'm presuming it's going to be Brainiac. That's been
Okay.
on screen. And yeah, and he already has a script done. They have at least a year that they plan on putting this out. I think in 2027. I
Yeah.
think it's so. Yeah, he doesn't want to waste time. I think he's really trying to push ahead with his universe plans, and certainly he wants to make it just as much about the villains as the heroes.
Well, we'll see. I have faith in the sequel. You know, I really don't have anything to say. We've reviewed it, so like again, I have no problems. He put his money where his mouth is, and it worked out for him. So I have faith. But I'll probably be one of the people like, oh, this was disappointing if it's not good. Um, Mr. and Mrs. Smith has been delayed due to casting problems, and my thing is, it's already been a while. It's gonna end up being like FUBAR at this point, where it's like it takes too long to be made, and then by the time it is released, nobody's interested anymore. And
I'm trying to remember. Wasn't there a point when they said that Donald Glover and the other actress were not going to do it? That they were going to get a new
Well, yeah,
duo?
because the series they are envisioning it like each season kind of like an anthology. Like the first season, it was Maya Erskine and Donald Glover. So then in season two, it'll be I know it's the kid from Honora. I don't know who the female lead they picked was, but I guess it would be a season of their adventures, as spies. And then I guess I take it then in season three, if it makes it that far, it'll be a totally new team. But my question that wasn't made clear, I know Donald Glover was one of the showrunners the first season and was a producer. So I'm wondering, is he still staying in a creative capacity, even if he's not going to be starring in it? And
If he's not in it, I doubt he's going to be involved in creative capacity.
I'm hoping because I feel like he was part of what kept the first season fresh and not being a retread of the movie just on television. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. That was one of my favorite series of that year. Yes, I also loved Atlanta, but two different beasts. Atlanta was more surreal, whereas they both jump around a lot. I'll say that for both series. But we also have like four seasons of Atlanta. We only have one so far of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Well, we're coming to the end. I know one story you want to talk about was that Paramount is now trying to buy Warner Brothers.
It's still in the early stages. My understanding is that Skydance is in preparations to make a bid to buy Warner Brothers, so they would absorb it. I guess get their library, merge it with some properties. I'm not thrilled with it if it's true. There's no guarantee it's going to go through, but yeah, if that happens, that's the end of a legacy in Hollywood right there, and might say that future's looking a little bleak for cinema.
Yeah, it just feels like it's Pac-Man eating more and more and getting bigger and bigger, or
Yeah.
Pixels or whatever reference I was going for there. But yeah, it's like this is a classic studio. And I mean, I'm not a big David Zaslav fan, obviously, but I'm like, selling it to Paramount, I'm just like, ugh. But see, that's the scary part is that David Zaslav seems like the type of guy who would sell it. And
Yeah, and I think that a lot of it has to do with some of that cost cutting. And even in my mind, I'm thinking when they did that whole thing during the pandemic with the day and date release and doing HBO Max, I think that really did serious, long lasting damage to the studio.
I believe it, and it's a shame. The end of an era. Like, while everything else is going down, so is this. I'm sure it's not a coincidence this is all going down under a certain person's regime either.
Yeah.
Um, well, only two more stories left that I have. Sony CEO admits They really made a mistake selling off K-pop Demon Hunters to Netflix. I'll be like, that's the biggest understatement of the year because that came out of nowhere to be a hit. And I'll admit, I just put it on just to see what it was all about before it started getting popular, and I was pleasantly surprised. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. And then Netflix, they're really against theatrical because I guess it goes against what they came out. Their business model when they came out was, home movies. So they only released the sing along for one weekend, and it topped the box office. But I also wonder is might it have made so much in that one weekend because everybody knew this one weekend is all you're getting. Like, there's not going to be a Tuesday show. It's not going to be a Monday show. So if you miss it here in theaters, you're probably never going to get it again. Like,
It's
would
not
it have? Huh?
Minecraft.
Go ahead.
It's on the Minecraft movie where it just had this huge fan base they didn't realize they had, so they packed the theaters for this thing. I don't know anything about this Demon Hunter stuff, but the K-pop thing is definitely huge here, and
Yo,
so I easily see that being something that would pack people in, and it's not something you would save for streaming. That would be like a Phantom event, and I think that's what was treated here.
yeah, and I'm like, but I think it also is a hit because it's original, even though it's a mashup of obviously different things that are becoming hits right now. I think it was, but at least it's original. It's not something that is based on like a previous anime or something. So, people are starved for original quality. That's why they'd rather, even though everybody knows about Jaws, they'd rather go see Jaws than Caught Stealing. The re-release of Jaws rather than Caught Stealing. I don't know. Like, again, I remember when I was younger, I could always predict what was going to be number one at the box office. These days, I can't do that anymore. It's always like a crapshoot. And Luc Besson's Dracula film starring Caleb Landry Jones that has so far only been released in Europe will be coming to America next year to be released. Even though kind of Luc Besson has I'm he's not like a Woody Allen over here, but he does have kind of a damaged reputation due to certain accusations. So,
Yeah, completely dropped off. I don't see how this is going to play. And him doing a Dracula movie, the singer did The Fifth Element, a professional. I don't see.
well, don't forget his what was it? His Dog Man movie was never really released to a theater over here. Also starring Caleb Landry Jones. And so far over the years, he's just been making his money co-writing and producing like action films, French action films that come over here, like kind of his remake of La Femme Nikita about that model who was an assassin and it had Cillian Murphy in it. And
Mhm.
like that's what he's practically been doing. I think he actually directed that one. So I'm like, he's not a bad director, but he also hasn't really made his mark in anything recent. I mean, if anything, he's more known for that bomb movie that had like Rihanna, Cara Delevingne, and I can't remember the actor who played the Green Goblin or Harry Osborn in the Andrew Garfield version.
Oh, Larry?
Yeah, the one who was like in Smart Money, and he was the guy who managed the GameStop with braces. And
Yeah,
so,
thank
yeah,
your choice for a leading hero.
he was hot at the time. I'm just saying, I can understand why they chose him, but I don't say I agree with it, but I can understand. It's why Cara Delevingne was in all those movies that year too, including a John Green teen movie. So I was just like, okay,
Mhm.
hey, it had Rihanna in the Chris Tucker role, except sexy, not comedic. So, um, and also Snoop Dogg took his comments about going to see Lightyear have come to light where he took his grandson or grandchild to go see Lightyear, and there's a same-sex couple in the movie, and him claiming, "Oh, I'm scared to go to the movies because I don't know what I'm going to see." And I'm like, yes, it's called a movie, and the whole thing is about acceptance. And even if you don't know what to tell him in that moment, you teach him that what he can see in the world. There are some same-sex couples, and they do exist, and they have children and their families, just like anybody else. Nobody said you had to give him a whole human sexuality speech. All you have to do is explain things because they're looking to you as an adult. And I mean, you kind of also recently had a lot of fuckery, not even including this. So, this is not the time. And then his response is, oh, well, teach me. I'm like, you are older than me, sir. You should know how to do this. And apparently you're on the internet all the time. So, how is this all new, to you? I'm like, this sounds like you're making excuses. Just like, why 4 years ago you were belittling Trump, and now all of a sudden, oh, yes, sir, I'm going to go, do a concert for you at your inauguration.
Yeah, Snoop pisses me off just in the past several months. I feel like he's a guy that just he goes wherever the wind blows. And one minute, yeah, he's for one thing and then he's against another thing. And I don't know who he's playing to. I don't know who he's trying to appease. I don't know if Ice Cube calls him up and tells him he's going to lose his cred if he goes a certain way politically. It's just it really saddens me because I love Snoop Dogg. I love his music. I love him as a person, but this doesn't help him, period. And I wasn't crazy about Lightyear. I wasn't gonna run out and see it, but listen, we're in a different world now, and we just have people as they are, and you shouldn't be trying to you know influence your kids to think a certain way because you're trying to say this is how the world is supposed to be. They should be able to learn, expand, make their own decisions. And, I just think this guy really is part of that whole hypocrisy in modern media, modern entertainment, where they feel like they got to kiss the ring just to survive. And that's not right.
Or, there's this crazy thing that well, at least me and you have both discussed on this show. You don't have to always give your opinion about everything. Mm,
Right.
You
Shut
can
up and entertain.
Exactly. You can just say, I don't want to answer that question, or I have nothing to say about that. No one's going to kill you for not answering a question.
Take a
And
cue from Tom Cruise. They were trying to ask him about some political stuff. He said, I'm just here to promote the movie. I'm not going to talk
exactly.
about on fucking couches.
Learn from the king of PR, Tom Cruise. Just stick to the side. Learn
And
from Jason Statham. What? Oh, and popcorn. Learn from Jason Statham. Just disappear. And then just come out with your product once a year. That's all you have to do. And that's all the news stories I have. Do you have any news stories you'd like to bring up?
that's about it.
So that's going to end this live. I guess you could say our September live. Thank you to everybody who watched. Thank you to Hosiv who stayed throughout the whole show. Thank you to everybody who viewed or who's going to view this when I post it. We thank you. Keep this show going. We do it for you guys. We enjoy it. We love talking about movies. Wait, okay, Hosiv has two questions. Okay, come on, make them quick. And you can ask them one after the other, before the live snips off. And then we're just going to go off, guys. So I'm just going to say for right now, thank you to everybody who came.
Check out
And
the Vendetta game. Oh, not Vendetta. The Last Vendetta. Now on Prime Video if you're in the US and the UK. And tomorrow it'll be up on Tubi.
Yes, and you can. Oh yeah, you said where they can see Vendetta games. Yes, check it out. Oh well, he answered your second question, where you can see Andre's movies, and where is the Cinephiles podcast? There is no more Cinephiles podcast. It's only Unfinished Business Television, unless we decide to change the name in the future. But the Cinephiles, unfortunately, are done. It's like the Beatles. We're all going to come out with our solo stuff, but the group is never going to be together again. But everybody's still alive and healthy. Thank you.
And we still get them for the most part. So every now and then you'll see them maybe pop up in a special episode.
Exactly. So, Eric has, like I said, is doing his own projects. We're still in contact. but he's doing well. He's still a fan of the show or this show. So, yeah. So, anything else you want to plug or you want to let the folks know about? And
Not
you're
yet,
welcome.
but
Mm,
the movie is available now. And if you have Rides and Fios or Spectrum, it's on Fios now. It'll be on Spectrum tomorrow if you want to get it on video on demand.
Okay. And unfortunately, I don't have anything to promote. So, other than keep watching these live episodes, keep asking questions, keep commenting, sharing, subscribing. We do it for you guys. We enjoy it. We love hearing from you. And thank you to everybody who's watching and those who tuned in and commented and visited. We love you guys. We will see you next time, guys. We'll see you in October. We'll see you under skies of blue. Bye bye.